Hello guys, today I'm going to show you how to create a modern WordPress development environment. So first we need to create a folder for our code. So let us open it in VS Code. So we need the index.php. So we'll put some boilerplate code. We need a style.css. So we just need some basic information. We should now see our theme here. So here it is. So let's activate it. So here is how our homepage currently looks like. So if we activate our theme, this is how it looks like. It will get our hello world. So let me show you how to enqueue our styles very quickly. So let us create our styles in this folder. We'll copy in some styles. So this will be our styles. We'll write in a simple counter. So this is basically a counter. What it basically does is it counts from 0 to 10 and it updates the div with the ID of counter. So let us create that div. So let us make sure we import those assets into WordPress. So this is the scripts that we'll use to load things into WordPress. So what we basically does is every script needs a handle. So as you can see, we have put the handle in both of them. We also need to give it a link to the scripts. So there it is. We also need to give it a version. This is particularly important for cache busting. So what the strategy that I've used is I've joined the version of the theme. So as you can see, we set the theme as 1.3. So we joined it as well as the timestamp of when that file was updated. And for the JavaScript, the only thing I've done is we have made sure that this thing is injected in the footer, not in the header. So we need to just make one last modification here. So the two modification is to tell WordPress where to inject the CSS and where to inject the JavaScript. So in this case, we're injecting the CSS in the header, actually, and we're injecting the JavaScript in the body at the very end. So let us make sure that it now works by reloading. As you can see, the timer is working and the text has been made larger. So it counts until 10 and stops. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is to start making use of our bundler, and the most popular one is Webpack, but we're going to use Rollup in this situation. In modern development, we usually make use of a source folder where we shall actually move these two files in there, and whatever is here will be compiled into the dist folder. Okay, let us begin by initializing npm and installing Rollup and rimraf. Rimraf will help us clean the dist folder. So rimraf will clean the dist folder, and when we run npm dev, it will also run npm run clean. So we need to create a rollup config. So this is just a simple config, and if we run npm run dev, so I'll show you how to import the CSS. So the first thing we need to do here is import main.css. It should actually break our build because we need a plugin for that. So we'll install the Rollup plugin import CSS and add it to our config. So if we run dev, we should have our CSS over here. Additionally, I'll show you how to work with sass. So if we convert this to SCSS, it should break because we need a plugin for that. So we'll use the Rollup SCSS plugin. So let's copy that. Let's update our main.css, as well as we'll no longer need this, as we are now working with sass. Then, so this plugin does require us to declare an output file. So convert this to CSS. So to show that sass is working, so we'll just declare a variable. So we also need to make sure we've installed sass. So everything should now be alright. Also, to avoid having to reload the page all the time, we shall install a live reload plugin for Rollup so that this page is automatically reloaded. So we need to add a live reload plugin. The next thing I'll show you is how to use integrate Typescript into our code. Alternatively, you could also use Babel with the latest version of JavaScript. So it breaks. I need to update several places. So here will be TS. Now we need TypeScript. So we'll use the official Rollup TypeScript plugin. We need to import it. So we need to generate a config file. We need to change a couple of things in the config file. So we need to enable node resolution, and we need to say the module that we're going to use is ES next, and we want to compile it to ES 2015. So I think we are done there. So as you can see, TypeScript, we already have as you can see, we need to add some types. You can see it wants us to use strings instead of numbers. So in these two places, we need to update that. And we also need to add this as an HTML element. So you can see. So you can see it has removed those annotations. Ignore whatever it's here. This is just for the live reload script. Another feature of TypeScript is the use of decorators. So I'll copy paste some code here that has some refactor of counter into like a decorator. So this is the counter. So what we did is we turned the function into a class and gave it and we created a static function that takes in the container. So as you see at the bottom, we don't pass it any container, but that responsibility is passed on to the decorator, which is the inject element. As you can see, a decorator is just a function, and here is where we are injecting the container. Here is where we are searching, and then we are checking if it is defined. If it's not defined, we throw an error, and then we actually call the original method. As you can see, it's complaining that decorators are an experimental feature, so which we need to enable in the config. So let us enable it. So here it is. We need to just uncomment that, and then the error will disappear. So we just need to restart. The rollup. If we reload the page, everything is just active, behaves as normal. And if we look at the JavaScript that was created, the Typescript compiler created this function called decorate, which facilitates the decoration of the count method using the inject element. You can pause and see how it actually does that, and you're done. So that's how you integrate TypeScript and Sass into the application. So the next thing that we're going to do is I will cover CSS optimization as well as the JavaScript optimization. So by optimization, I mean mainly reducing the file sizes so that the users do not download packets that are larger than they should be. So for optimization, we'll heavily rely on the postcss tool. A huge draw of using postcss is the ecosystem, or rather the plugin ecosystem of postcss. It has a lot of plugins which are very useful, and we're going to leverage 3 of them. So the first one is a package called Prefixer. So different browsers have implemented different CSS properties a bit different. So for example, as you can see here, the backdrop filter, this only exists in I think only exists in Chrome in this format. Actually, even Firefox does not even include this property, but Safari via the WebKit implements this feature by prefixing it with the --WebKit backdrop filter. Sorry, I think I forgot something here. So here it is. So this is how Safari implements it. So there are several other CSS properties that are implemented differently in different browsers. So in order for developers to add those features, they have to memorize it. But the good folks at postcss have developed a plugin that does this prefixing on our behalf, and thus we don't have to memorize these CSS properties. So let me just delete this. So to begin with, let us install postcss, and also let us install Prefixer. So let us set up postcss. There are several ways of integrating postcss, but the one that I like is using the Sass plugin. It has a property called processor, and it's in the processor that we're going to integrate postcss. So postcss takes in a list of plugins, and we're going to add ours, the Prefixer, and I think that's it. So if you have a look at the main.css, as you can see, it has successfully auto-prefixed our property. As you can see, I actually made a mistake. I put a double dash. Actually, it's supposed to be a single dash. So yeah, so as you can see, like I can't like you can't make mistakes like I did. So since the plugin is doing it for us, so that's the first optimization. The next one that we'll do is reducing the bundle size. So the first strategy that we're going to employ is removing the white spaces. So the way our CSS looks like in this manner, the way it's so readable, this readability is only useful for developers, but for the actual browser, it is not that useful. So we can actually just remove all the white spaces. So to use that, we'll also use another postcss plugin called Css Nano. So let us install it right now. Another thing about postcss, you don't really need to instantiate it. Usually it can instantiate it on our behalf. So let me remove that to prove that point. So we have integrated Css Nano. So let us see it in action. Let me save it. So as you can see, everything has been put in one line with all the white space has been removed. And yeah, so that's it. Let me remove it first of all. You can see at the bottom where my cursor is, it's 654 bytes. Oh no, sorry. As you can see at the bottom, it's 130 bytes. That's already small enough, but let's just see if we remove CSS Nano. But the value of CSS Nano is when you have a large CSS file, CSS deliverable. So as you can see, it has increased to 170 bytes. So yeah, you can see so the 170 bytes, and let us return it, and it is 130 bytes. So it has reduced it by around that is 40 bytes. Yeah, so that's it. But the next plugin will actually really it's quite useful in a different way. So it's very popular, and it's actually sometimes preferable that we use external CSS libraries such as Bootstrap, Tailwind, and the rest, so that we make finishing our application faster, so that we can get to market quite quickly. But a disadvantage of doing so is we end up shipping classes, CSS classes, that will not actually be used by the browser, so leading to wastage of bandwidth and stuff. So it will actually be useful to actually scan the CSS and actually remove all the unused classes. Instead of us actually manually doing that, there is a plugin that actually helps us do that. So a tool that helps us achieve this is a tool called CSS, and CSS scans our content, or rather our files, for CSS classes and matches it and sees whether we have actually used it in our files. So, and then the ones which are not used are removed. So this ends up reducing the size of our bundle. So we are at the postcss site. So there is a plugin that integrates postcss and CSS, and it is this one in particular. So let us copy the code here. And concerning the content, since our HTML is only contained in the index.php, so we'll just add that. Okay, so to illustrate the effect of CSS, I shall disable CSS Nano for now. So as you can see, nothing has changed right now, but let us install Bootstrap. Okay, let us also comment out CSS so that we have a control. So let us see. So as you can see, these are all the CSS classes that ships with Bootstrap, and if you see, they are about they are around 11,000 lines, 11,200 lines, and most of these we haven't used. So to show you the utility of CSS, let me return the CSS. And as you can see, the lines have reduced to around 200. To show you that the size the bundle size has reduced, let us return. Let us set it back. So this is the one which has the 11,000 lines, and as you can see here at the bottom, if you can see my cursor, it is around 200 kilobytes. 200 kilobytes. So keep that in mind, and when we make use of CSS, it reduces from 200 kilobytes all the way to 4 kilobytes. So that is like a significant reduction. And if we also make use of CSS Nano, it reduces from around 4 kilobytes to 3 kilobytes. So it is a combination of the two yields like a smaller CSS bundle. So that concludes optimizing our CSS bundle. So yeah. For JavaScript optimization, it will be much simpler. What we shall employ is a plugin called Tassa. I think Tassa or Tessa, one of those pronunciations. And the strategy that Tassa will probably use will mainly involve removing all the white spaces, as well as using single character variable names, because whether the variable is called count or just the letter C does not matter either way to the browser. So those are the optimizations that Tessa will do. And let us install the plugin. Tassa is a standalone tool that will need to be integrated to Rollup, and the good thing is that we already have somebody who has written a plugin that integrates Tassa with Rollup. So this is the Tassa plugin. Shall just use that. So it has built with no problem. So let us see what it has done. So as I've said, it removes all the white spaces, as well as converting our code to use a single character variable names. As you can see, for example, apply this portion. This method has reduced to the letter O, as you can see over here. Close this. It has reduced to the letter O. It has passed this as it is, and the container has also been reduced to the letter E. So to show that is, as you can see, the document query selector counter that has been assigned to E. So those are like the optimization that Tessa does. And as far as optimizations, that's the much that you can do with JavaScript. Although there are other more advanced ways of doing it, such as bundle splitting, but that's beyond the scope of the video. And yeah, so that's optimization with JavaScript. So with that, I think that that brings us to the end of the tutorial. We have gone through how to serve our JavaScript and CSS via WordPress. And I've also showed you the latest JavaScript and CSS tools available to us and how to use them much easily in WordPress. And I've also showed you how to optimize your bundle that will eventually be delivered to the clients, or rather the users of our site. There are further things that I haven't covered yet. Probably those will be covered in future tutorials. There is also the use of Composer, so that we can make use of external PHP libraries that are not part and parcel of WordPress. And yeah, I think those are the tools. So if you have any suggestions or any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. And with that, let's see each other in the next tutorial.